Evening, B. So I had this weird thing happen today, and it's not super weird, but it just hit me all of a sudden at work, and I thought it left, so I wasn't really gonna do a ton with it. However, this gentleman's back, and I know it's not necessarily for me. There is definitely something familiar about this energy that I have with me. It's for sure masculine, and he's staying far enough away that it's like I can't necessarily pinpoint exactly an image of who he is, and he's not necessarily willing to give it up. I get a very protective and a very private feel. I don't know if you are protective and private, or if he is a key player for you. So because of this, he's protecting his energy a little bit as far as being like thrown out there. But I do get him as being a key player in the sense that he works like some of my guides do, in that he is transitional. He's a bridge gapper. I'm specifically hearing Gatekeeper. He's masculine. He's alluding to somebody having trouble hearing him. And it's not necessarily me. I think it's who he not belongs. That's the wrong word. Who he goes with, whoever's team he's on. They're having a little bit of difficulty communicating with him, is maybe the way I'll say that. Let me see if I can get him to talk. So he's just talking about this somebody being disillusioned, but kind of like disillusioning themselves, and that they can't hear their guides, or they're having difficulty connecting to their guide. And I'm hearing more like the one that they want to connect to. I don't know how to make that make sense. But he's saying something about it's an illusion due to it's an illusion of self due to being disconnected. He's talking a lot about being disconnected from self, in the fact that you're very loud. They're saying loud in your headspace. Maybe you have a lot on your mind. They're saying you have a lot of swirling thoughts, maybe, or continuous thoughts, or not a lot of calm is occurring in your headspace. Maybe you're processing a lot. Maybe you're reflecting a lot. Whatever it is, he's saying that this is exactly what it is. He's calling you kind of your own worst enemy a little bit. That when you're sensing this disconnection or this inability in your mind to connect to him, he's right there trying to get your attention. But he's saying that the problem is your disconnection and the imbalance that is occurring because you're so head heavy. He's also saying you're having a disconnect from your upper and lower Dantian, in that there's not I'm not saying that. In that he was being very blunt. In that there's not a good flow of energy between the two, which is causing the perceived communication problems. But he's alluding to something else, either a feeling of expectation, maybe, of how something is to occur, maybe your communication with this guide, or he feels so familiar, and the closer he gets, he feels so familiar. But he's not mine. I know he's not mine. I've already vetted him. But it just seems like there's this outside pressure, is what he's like alluding to. something about not hearing what you want to hear, but then also you're placing an expectation on what you maybe think you're supposed to hear, or how your communication is supposed to come in, because maybe it's come in a certain way before, and maybe it's shifting or changing. He's masculine. He has a semi-deeper voice. I wish he would come closer and out himself, because he feels so familiar. I know I felt this before, and I'm not sure if I felt this because it's somebody who I know, or if I felt this before because he's that transitional gapper, and I have a few of those gappers in my space due to their nature. So let's see. What do we need to do? He says, if you're disconnected from self, you're also in turn disconnected from us. You need to be connected in self. He says the disconnect is occurring because you're straying away from who you truly are. This feels like it's going back to that hands video, and it also feels like it's that return to roots is the reason I'm saying that hands video is that undertone of return to roots. I just keep hearing he's never left you. As you've grown, he's never left you. You put him further away in your mind than he ever was. Even replaced sometimes. Yeah. I'm not sure, but it just sounds, he's not getting any closer, and he's not really elaborating a whole lot. I hope this helps somebody. I know it's kind of a shot in the dark, and it's kind of a random message, but he's in my space, and he's I just get him being a transitional keeper, a gatekeeper, a bridge gapper. He's a transitional being. He holds a lot of weight in the other realm. I call those things the gray area. They play on both sides of the spectrum. They are not all light. They are not all dark, because they need to transition in between. I call that the gray area. I have a couple that work in the gray area. I work with a couple things that work in the gray area. He has a job. He has a purpose for you, in that he's on your team, and I feel like he's a key player in your team. Like, you're almost like he either used to be your go-to, or he still is, and that's what the trouble is you can't necessarily, you don't think you can hear him or connect with him, or you answer and crickets. Like, it's like this frustration, but it's a disconnect from self, and he's just saying that it's a disconnect up, down, lower, and upper dantian, not being in a good flow state, but he's talking also about the fact that it's a disconnect from who you truly are. So maybe you've strayed away from, I don't want to call it your purpose, and I never think anyone really strays too far, but you're just kind of starting to pivot, maybe. I feel like it's a pivot. I don't want to call it a spiritual trap. I don't want to call it like a missed turn, because I don't think there are really any wrong turns. But he's just saying you're straying away from who you truly are, so you're not standing in your authenticity. You're not speaking up for yourself. You're almost kind of like, ugh. So he's saying that is what's causing the issue. I just got a hard right earring. Yeah, so I hope this helps somebody. If that's for you, that maybe that'll solve some issues. If not, I don't know, but I think he seems satisfied. I'm satisfied. Have a good night, B. I know this was long and it was a weird video, and I apologize. Sometimes shit's just like that in my space, I guess. But peace out.